In this video, I'm going to cover what the trimmer and the scrubber edit tools can do. I'll start with the trimmer. This is the trimmer tool right here, and if you click on it, you'll see there's the standard tool, the TCE tool, and the loop tool. TCE stands for time compression expansion. We'll get to that in a second. Let's start with the standard trimmer. If I take the standard trimmer down here to this region, I can click and drag and edit the front half of that region off of there. I can also click and drag the end of this region. If I click and drag it and extend it beyond, that's no problem either. I can press the Option key on the Mac or the Alt key on a Windows machine to reverse the direction of the trimmer tool. So that can be handy if I want to make this region much shorter, like that. The trimmer tool can also be used to lengthen and shorten MIDI notes. So if I go up to this instrument track here, and I'm looking at it in Notes view, I can take this MIDI note and drag it either way. I can also use the trimmer to scale automation and controller data up or down. First, I'm going to get the selector tool here. I'm going to select a portion of this automation. Then I'll go back to the standard trimmer, click and drag, and it'll take all of that same curve and bring it down by the same amount. And you can see that as it goes up, it has the dB, which is the volume level, and then the little triangle, it says plus 5 dB right there. That's the delta value, or the difference between where it was and where the new value is. Let's move on to the time trimmer, or the TCE trimmer. Again, TCE stands for time compression expansion. The TCE trimmer uses the Timeshift Audio Suite plugin to alter the length of an audio region and create a new audio file. You can use it to time compress or expand a region for matching the length of another region, or to fit a region better to a tempo grid, or for a special effect. Let's try it out. I'm going to take this piano part and really compress it. Notice the processing window that was just there. Pro Tools actually has to make a new file for this. It creates a brand new audio file. Let's take a listen to it. First, I'm going to solo it. Well, we compressed it a lot, so there's a lot of audio artifacts in there. But it certainly does sound interesting. We can actually adjust the settings for the Timeshift plugin. If we go up to Setup, Preferences, and in the Processing page, we see our TCE area right here. We see the Timeshift is the default TCE plugin, and we can choose our default setting. Now it looks like there's a whole bunch of different settings here, and for this case, we'll probably use a piano. Click OK. You can also create your own TCE settings if you go to the Audio Suite menu, Pitch Shift, Time Shift, and that'll open up the Timeshift plugin window. Now I'm not going to get into this here, but that's where it is if you need to create your own settings. Let's move on to the loop trimmer. If you take the loop trimmer tool and position the trimmer over the top half of the region, it'll be in loop trim mode. You see the difference in the icon there. So I'm going to click and drag, and you'll see that it creates multiple loops right in a row of this particular region. If you position the cursor at the bottom half of a region, it'll go back to the standard trim tool, like that. To quickly access the different trim tools, you can either right-click the trim tool button, or you can repeatedly press F6, and it'll scroll through all three options. Let's move over to the scrubber tool. Scrubbing is a technique used in analog tape editing, where an engineer rolls the tape back and forth over the playhead at slow speeds with his or her hands to find the particular location on the tape, usually the location for a splice. And the purpose of the scrubber in Pro Tools is to emulate this scrubbing process on digital audio. By scrubbing over an edit point, you can find the exact edit point, which may not be obvious just by looking at the waveform. Let's look at a different part of the audio here. So I'm going to click and drag, and you'll hear the scrubbing action. Notice how you can go forward and backwards. If you scrub over the middle of a stereo track, you can hear both sides. Press the Command key on a Mac or the Control key on a Windows machine if you want to scrub at finer resolution. That sounds great. You can press the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on a PC and you'll go faster. And this is called Scrub Shuttle mode. Use the Scrub Shuttle mode to scroll through a long track to find a specific part of that track. Now if you want to access the scrubber while you've got the selector engaged, just press the Control key on a Mac or the Start key on a PC to change the selector to the scrubber. You can also access Scrub Shuttle mode if you press Control and Option on a Mac or Start and Alt on the PC. I find the scrubber to be my least used editing tool, but its features certainly are cool and helpful from time to time. On the other hand, I use the trimmer all the time to edit regions, and I imagine you will too once you get the hang of using all of its features.